So I'm being detained because I wouldn't give ID.
You're being detained because you're causing a disturbance in the theater. That's why you're being detained.
Because I was upset for being pulled out of the theater, and I won't give ID. All right. Mm-hmm.
So now we're gonna have to do what?
No, hold on. I'm sorry about this, but this is not okay. I was asked to sit down because I refused to show ID. Okay. I don't know. Right now we're here.
Some guy just walked up to me. I think he said it was over there. He said he got a plate and everything. All right, sir. Can I have your ID, please?
I'm not going to give my ID. I told you my name, and I don't by law have to give my ID to my knowledge. And you haven't shown me a law saying that. And all that's happened here is I was an upset customer for being pulled out of the theater. You know, I haven't done anything, and I'm.
Okay, sir, I need your date of birth.
Why do you need my date of birth?
We need to know who you are. That's all. Identification purposes, not somebody.
All right, 82369.
If we don't know who you are, we gotta take you to book you to
for what?
Fingerprint you, and we know who you are.
Why? Why would you? What charge were you going to? Because
you know. Identify you.
For what?
What is the purpose?
Why though? I mean, because that sounds like an unreasonable search and seizure to me. A violation of
What's being searched? You don't even know what you're saying.
Well, he's asking me. He's saying that you're going to have to take me in and get my fingerprints.
We're here on a call for service. We have to find out who you are.
That's all.
That's all.
I am a customer who was in the middle of a movie and was pulled out because I was using an electronic cigarette, and I'm upset about that, right? But that's so what and that's all that's happening now. And then I was asked for my ID, and I don't really see why I have to give my ID. I have committed no crime,
You're in public, right?
Yes, I'm in public. So what difference does that make?
You request an ID.
Show me a law that says I have to give an ID if I haven't committed a crime. I just don't understand that.
Did any one of us said you had committed a crime?
No.
You were listening when we said you.
You still are asking for my ID.
Okay, listen. Someone call for service.
And I've told you my name. I have told you my name, and now I've told you my birth.
Okay, maybe you want to listen a little bit.
Because you asked them to call.
Okay.
Yeah, well,
What was that birth? I didn't get it, sir.
I gave it 8/23/1969.
No one accused you of committing a crime.
Well, but I've been asked. I'm being detained. I'm not being allowed to leave and go home because I wouldn't give an ID. I would like to, and I think that, unless I'm being detained, it sounds like if I am being detained, that would be a violation of my rights because I have not committed any crime, and I don't think I've displayed any reason for you to believe that I committed a crime.
No one is accusing you of committing a crime. We got a call for service. We respond. We need to find out what's going on.
And what's going on is I was asked to leave because I was using an electronic cigarette. An electronic cigarette, it doesn't even have nicotine in it.
Okay, sir, that's not the issue.
Okay, but
they felt it was a distraction because of the vapor. Okay, and then you got loud in there, and you became a distraction.
I did not become loud in the theater. I became loud out here,
okay,
because I was complaining about being pulled out of the theater for something that wasn't against even their policy. Never mind the law. It's not even against their policy. He said it violates our policy, and they showed me the policy, and it says no smoking. I wasn't smoking.
So that's not the issue either. The issue is the vapor that distracts the people behind you from seeing
but
the
it
movie.
is not against any policy that they have.
That's and then
basically, sir, the policy is what they said. It's their private business. If they don't want
okay, I understand that, but still, it's not correct. It's not very good service, and it violates my agreement when I purchased the ticket. Now they have given me a refund,
okay,
and that is what it is. And this conversation happened when I came in because I was getting the corporate email so I could file a complaint with this private organization, and then I was asked for my ID. And I don't think that I have any need to give my ID under those circumstances. It's not like I've committed. I haven't committed a crime.
We have a disturbance here, which would be in violation of 415 of the Penal Code.
How? Because I'm upset. So any person who gets upset with a place of business because of the service that they delivered is committing a crime.
Depends on how you go about being upset.
Well, I wasn't yelling. I raised my voice about as loud as I am now. This is the worst that it's gotten. The entire time. I was upset, and I am upset. I'm still upset. I'm upset with the way I'm being treated right now. I'm being detained by police because I was an upset customer. I do not agree with that. I do not agree with that. And I would like to point out that unless you're going, am I free to go or am I being detained?
Just a second. Give us just a second.
Okay. Well, I would like an answer to that question. Am I being detained?
Well, yes and no, but give us just a second, and then you can be on your way.
Okay. Because I feel like at this point this is a violation of my rights. I really do.
Have you anything like this ever happened to you before?
Nope. I have no record. I guarantee you.
Never been arrested. Never had.
Maybe when I was 5. In I don't maybe I probably stole some candy from the store or something like that when I was 5. No, I have no, yeah. I guarantee you won't find anything on me on that.
It's so sad.
Thanks, sir.
Did you get the appropriate address?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, good.
Did you hear something else?
Is it okay now? We'll find out how this goes.
This guy right there said he called.
You did?
He said he called 911 for a hit and run.
So like, my other friend got me a ticket and she brought me a ticket. So is there a way like I can do the same? Yeah. You can what the same? Return one of them? Yeah. And then like do the same. You just want to return one of the tickets, right? Yeah. And then, okay. So give me the ticket that you want to return. Actually, you might want to. Oh my god. Is all of you girls just like taking first? Are you all of you together? So for endless love. Get up the next guest. Drop all the white seats and the green seats. Endless love. Do you want to return? Did you have a Regal card by any chance? Did you have a Regal card by any chance?
To ask for the appropriate address.
That's when I was explaining there's no because he was trying to tell me that they're trying to determine whether this is against e-cigarettes are against the law, right? And I said, okay, well that doesn't matter whether you're trying to determine it or not. There is no law against it, right now in present time. There's no law against it. And at that point, he asked me for my ID, and I was like, why?
Right.
I've committed no crime.
Right.
Why do you need my ID?
Right.
And that's where my point is. I'm like kind of like that to me is kind of like browbeating. I don't think it's okay. It's like this scare me, because I mean like what law did I violate?
Okay, text me.
I'm violating.
I see that they're eating frozen for $8.15. It's sold out. Yeah, it just flashes. Oh, yeah.
Okay, Sean, explain what's happening right now. You haven't given him ID. Understandable. The problem is your name is Sean Smith. He's got several warrant hits on a Sean Smith. That's why we asked for your date of birth.
Okay.
And he's taking his time. He's now got to go through them and make sure you're not the Sean Smith we're looking for.
Okay. No, I'm not.
I mean, it's with the ID, we could do it a little bit faster.
Yeah, but I there's a principal
Creating
point
him
here.
to have to work a little
There's
harder.
a principal point though here for me.
Well,
okay.
but this is probably going to last a little bit longer than it needs to.
Okay.
Okay.
You know.
That's all what it's all about.
Yeah, but I don't see the fact that I'm even being investigated on that point is part of the problem here.
It starts out disturbing the peace.
How am I disturbing the peace by being that? It's really, that's a stretch, and I got it, and you know, I'm pretty sure I can't see how you can, you know, so that my being upset with the policies of this organization is turning me into a criminal. I don't see that that's okay.
Yeah.
I really don't, you know. I really
We
don't.
were right in the middle of the movie, and he just gets us to get out,
You know.
without giving any explanation whatsoever.
Well, it's
And
their
leaving his day-
private business. They have the right to
Yeah,
do
but
that.
the bottom line here is I was.
And he did give you a refund.
Just before, and I was asking for corporate information so that I could file a complaint with the corporation when I was asked for my ID.
Well, what happened was is they asked you to stop using that before they asked you to leave. And you said you were not going to stop using it. Then they asked you to leave.
Yeah, I said I wasn't at that point. That's true.
Okay, so you were refusing to comply with their,
That's
They're
disturbing the
not
peace.
How is that disturbing the peace? Is that actually the law? Is that actually what the
Yeah,
law means?
415 of the California Penal Code, 415.
By that exact thing. I mean, like a judge would hold that up in a court of law.
It's a misdemeanor crime. It's not like it's going to send you to prison or anything.
Because I refuse to agree with their policy.
Yeah.
That really doesn't that doesn't make any sense to me. It really doesn't.
Okay, well, let me just explain something to you, okay?
Thank you very much for your show.
Like the sergeant said, you know, this is a private business. They have certain, you know, guidelines that they like all their customers to abide by. They felt, I'm not siding with them, okay? I'm just saying, they felt that you were doing something, whatever it was, nicotine, no nicotine, whatever, you were doing something that perhaps distracted the other viewers or whatever. You were asked to leave because you refused to stop using it. They gave you a refund, okay? We're just trying to figure out who we're dealing with, okay? And that's it. You're free to go.
Let me just give
Do
you
you have any more questions for me?
No, not really.
I just
But
want
here's
to
what
give
you let
you
my wife.
an example, right? Okay, so disturbing the peace. How many people show up with a baby to the theater, right?
They can be asked to leave. Ma'am, as I said, I'm not taking their side.
I'm just
If they feel that's a disturbance, they can ask anybody to
and
leave.
then the lady with the baby that is crying, being asked to leave, and then she goes, you know what? There is no policy there that says that one should not bring a baby. And they go, well, I don't know what you're going to do.
Well, you know, everything doesn't have to be a law. There's common sense comes into play and courtesy, okay?
Yeah, but even that and all that. So my point, though, is, or her point is that if that woman says you can't ask me to leave, is now is disturbing
That's
the peace.
hypothetical.
Or it could also be trespassing.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Well, they're asking.
You know what? We just need to.
Yeah, we'll research it ourselves.
Well, I
Okay.
appreciate your cooperation at this point, okay? And I'm sorry that it took a little longer because we didn't have an ID to work with. And what happens, we got a common name like Sean Smith. I guarantee you, we're going to get hits on it.
Yeah, and I understand that. I'm not, you know, but I am. But the simple fact that I even got asked for my ID is what bothers me. That's the bottom. That's my thing. My name is Sean Smith, and I recorded the video that you just watched. I wanted to point out a couple of things about the video. One, I did not think of recording it. Took quite a bit into it, you know. I did not think that any of this was going to happen, or that, and certainly didn't think it was going to escalate to where it did. Unfortunately, it did. And so I didn't start the video. I didn't start recording until things were already until I was already being harassed and treated roughly. I mean, not that there was no physical roughness. It was all verbal. But the but in the video, the officers attempt to make that this is make it out that this is about the disagreement that I had with an employee of the theater who pulled me out of the theater to tell me that I was violating their posted signs about personal vaporizers. When I asked for those signs, he couldn't produce them. He showed me a plaque that said that I couldn't smoke. But since I wasn't smoking, I was using a personal vaporizer. It didn't even have nicotine in it, so therefore it wasn't even a tobacco product. He said, well, you still can't use it. And yeah, at that point I was like, well then fine, it doesn't really matter. I'm already here and I'm already watching the movie. I'm going to finish watching my movie, and I'm not violating any written store policy, so that's that. And he said, well, if I insist on using it, I'm going to have to call the police. Well, then call the police. Maybe not the smartest thing on my part right there, but nonetheless, that happened, right? So here we are, Now, actually, by the time the police got there, it already sorted out because I had decided, you know what, this just isn't worth it, So, you know what, give me a refund and give me the contact information for your corporate organization so that I can file a complaint with the way you handled this, because I don't agree. I don't think it was very good to accuse me of violating your policies that were clearly posted when it wasn't. And the officer had actually arrived while that discussion was happening, and I had gotten the refund, and I said that. And I had left the theater already, and then I realized I had forgot the information for the complaint, so I came back and got that information. It was at that point that the officer in question said to me, "Sir, you should know that we are investigating the legality of those devices." And I didn't really, appreciate the implication of that, and I said, you know what, that doesn't make any difference, because the facts is that, to my knowledge, in the state of California, there is no law against personal vaporizers, and therefore it's not illegal. That's when the officer asked me, "Sir, I'm going to need to see your ID." I said, "Why do you need to see my ID? I have not committed any crime. I'm not going to give my ID." At that point, he went to that little thing, that he had, the walkie-talkie or whatever, and called for backup. Then he told me to step outside the lobby and sit down. Now I complied, because I'm not interested in getting in any kind of confrontations of that nature, but at the same time I was appalled at being asked for my ID because I expressed a differing opinion to the officer. At that point my wife attempted to talk to me, because she felt that, honey, you should just give him the ID and get this over with, And you could kind of hear me in the video talking to her about, I'm sorry about this, but, this isn't okay, and I'm not going to stand for it, so then she asked him if she could talk to me in private, and he was very rude to her. He was like, "No, he's going to sit right there, and if you want, you can sit right next to him." It was actually at that point that I started recording, because now I remember, oh yeah, I got a cell phone, because I was kind of outraged at the way, it's one thing that they be talking to me that way. It's another thing to talk to my wife that way, and I was thinking, how am I going to handle that? Because I certainly don't want to get into any kind of, I don't want this to escalate further than it already has, And then I remembered the phone. I had my smartphone on me, and I could start recording this. And sure enough, you can even see at the beginning of the video, they start talking amongst each other and whatnot, and the tone towards me and my wife changed very quickly. They were no longer rude. They were very careful about what they said. You know, and I appreciate that because it was much easier to handle the conversation after that. Anyhow, another thing I wanted to point out that I thought was rather gross, didn't even have to do with me. At some point in the video, I think you will have noticed that there was a gentleman who was saying things like, you know, I have the license plate, you know, et cetera, et cetera. See, there was this other gentleman who had experienced a hit and run. He thought that the officer had come for his call and he was trying to get him to help. You know, and then within a couple of minutes, there were, you know, 5 other officers there, all to detain me because I refused to give my identification. And I found it gross because here was a gentleman who was experiencing an actual crime, trying to get help for that, and he couldn't get it from the 6 men, the 6 law enforcement officials who were standing there detaining me for refusing to give my identification. You know, now, did he get help? Yes, he did get help. Another officer was sent, and to my knowledge, he got help from that officer. But you know, he had to wait for that officer. You know, when there were 6 men there, you know, at least one of them could have helped this gentleman. You know, with an actual crime, rather than standing around and, you know, trying to intimidate me, you know, and, you know, I don't think that was okay, you know. So, which brings me to my final point. The reason why I'm posting this video is because I believe that this is a gross violation of the Bill of Rights, and specifically the 4th Amendment. You know, despite the fact that the officer said I didn't know what I was talking about and what was being searched. What was being searched was me. You know, I was being asked for my identification, proof of who I was, you know, and I was being seized. My person was being unreasonably seized or detained for having done nothing other than refusing to give my identification, and for having expressed a differing opinion on the law than the officers. That's the simplicity of it, and I find that all of this and having 6 officers detain me for whatever amount of time, you know, what probably wasn't very long. I didn't measure it, you know, it's a few minutes, you know, maybe a total of 15 minutes, right? But it shouldn't have happened in the first place. You know, it should not have happened in the first place. It should never have escalated to that. You know, it was, you know, I didn't threaten anybody. There was no, you know, there was no indication that I was engaged in any crime. I was about to leave, you know. You know, the simplicity was that they had been called because I had, you know, because earlier I had not wanted to leave the theater. Based on one individual's interpretation of the no smoking sign, and that he felt that the police needed to be called for that. I don't know what to do about that, but it certainly isn't a crime, you know. 2 people expressing their First Amendment right to express their opinions, you know, and not even particularly loudly at that, you know. My tone throughout the entire incident is about what it is now and what it was during the video. While I think I've been rather firm in my communication, I certainly wasn't belligerent, and I certainly wasn't threatening. And given that, the rest of what happened really wasn't okay. You know, so you know, I don't know what rights, what there is that I could do about it other than making it clear that it happened and that it's not okay, you know. And so I'm doing that, and hopefully this can serve as some sort of inspiration for others to, you know, that you can defend your personal liberties. You can successfully not, not have to cave under circumstances like this. Now, I will point out that, again, I was not belligerent with the officers, and I tried to be very careful not to give them any reason to think that I was threatening them, or to be rude. You know, I mean, I feel that I was I stood firm on my rights, but that to not engage in any kind of thing that could be interpreted as a threat. I think that's important, you know. But at the same time, I think it's very important to not let the police bully you into an unreasonable search or a demand for your identification when you've done nothing wrong, you know. And to my knowledge, I do have to give them some, telling them my name and my birth date. I do think was reasonable, and I'm no law expert, so I can't say. I would, there are lawyers that kind of thing to be discussed with, but my estimation of things, that was all I really needed to do, and and then because I had done nothing wrong in the end, I was allowed to leave, but I think that it was not okay that I had been detained in the first place, and there you go. So I hope that this is of benefit to others.